So, being the son of two music icons like Cher and Gregg Allman sounds really friggin' cool, but it's not always easy. Just ask Elijah Blue Allman. Well, I actually did ask him back in 2002 during our interview for his new Deadsy album. That was his band, which I dig and dug, as well as a lot of other things. We talked mainly music. The conversation was over a half hour, but don't worry, I edited it down a little bit to give you a brief time capsule of where he was at that moment. And actually, he was in a totally happy place. I just hope he gets back there, as I'm rooting for him. So, in the meantime, enjoy this classic conversation.
Okay, I hit play and record.
Okay.
Place on the line.
Chiznek.
Chismat.
Chiznek on the Rizak.
I didn't realize how down you were.
Well, down?
You're down with the hip hop, aren't you?
A little bit.
Okay.
I try to be. I try to stay up in the cool trends, the kids.
So, last time so is the record out yet or no?
It's out, man. We sold.
Just
Not only is it out, but it's number 100 on Billboard.
nice
We sold 11.5 first week, 11,500.
one. Let's be honest about this. This record, we've been waiting for this record for a minute.
Yeah.
So
Nah.
can you talk about from the artist perspective what it's the kind of like the roller coaster? And before you answer, let me make sure my cell phone is off. Don't want mom's calling.
Yeah. Well, the roller coaster for another man's roller coaster is our farm. So basically, we're people who utilize any sort of scenarios in life to just better whatever the situation is. So, it's the timing now is so auspicious, and I think that this first week and the charting and the units we've sold is a testament to the foundations that we've been laying and the cult following that we've been garnering. So it's now that things are unfolding and now that the actual officialness is started of the process with the record coming out, it's really I'm starting a lot of questions that I had, questions to the cosmic kind of why this and why this. Now it's all making sense to me. So I'm just trusting in how everything unfolded because it makes a lot of sense to me now. There's a lot of foundation, there's a lot of power, and there's a lot of legacy in whatever the course of the events have been for the last few years, with us kind of being in the dugout and just kind of perfecting the initial assault, because it's something that's different when you got something that's very artistic and very out there and very on the edge, like what you're doing. It's a very, it's a fragile thing, and it takes a certain kind of perseverance because you got to be obviously willing to just deal with people who are used to certain context in music, which you're going to appear very out of. So, it's, but then again, it's like, it ain't that out of the context if, we're entering in the hundreds, so that's good.
Well, you bring up a good point. You indirectly is like, because I've been interviewing a few bands over the years. I say that lightly. I've unfortunately been doing this too long.
Okay.
But fortunately, I love music.
Okay.
Most bands when I interview them, a lot of times they're lumped in with other bands because there's a certain sound going on or going on.
Yeah.
And you've kind of even hinted in something that I was going to touch on. I mean, this is one of the first times where I've actually put on a record, and it was like, wow, this is definitely different to what is actually going on right now.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that aspect of the fact that your music is, the descriptions on it?
Well, I think that the people that you're dealing with in my band, I mean, we're real, we're a different breed. So I think that the result of whatever we do artistically is going to be of the same essence. It's going to be of a different breed. So, a lot of the people, not ragging on anyone, but it's like, it's what kind of person you are. It's what your lifestyle is like. It's what the music for me is a reflection of what it is that, it's a soundtrack and a celebration of what we're most passionate about in life. So, everyone has different interests. I think we're brave enough to stick to our guns. I think there might be a lot of bands out there who might have like initially had one idea or this, or could have been, there might have been a band out there that could have been the next Beatles, and the record label's like, no, you got to do this and this and this, and it's got to sound like this and this and this. And it's like, we weren't hearing any of that shit. So it's like, we were just, we stuck to our guns, and I just think that we were allowed to stick to our guns, and I think we had the balls to do that. So I think that's what's special about this, is it just, the audacity, whatever, just be like, I'm not really concerned with the context of music, because it ain't like the context of music right now is some profound era. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, I mean, I not only do I not feel, obligated to try to conform to it, or in any ways, lend any kind of similarities in my band to that, but actually, hopefully, we're part of a series of final nails on its coffin. I mean, that's where I'm at. I'm at really heralding in a new era, and being a part of, hopefully, if a lot of other bands that herald in a new era that just want to bring back something that's extremely artistic, at the same time sells records and gives people what they want, which is entertainment. But for some reason, it's just this lowbrow thing that's dominated the charts. I just can't deal with that anymore. I'm trying to bring it back to the age of, like, when there was a little bit of, not so much intellectual, but just a lot of thought and a lot of complexities, like, coming from the whole Brian Eno, Roxy Music, David Bowie school of thought, but also coming from the, Black Sabbath, Deicide, Cannibal Corpse school of thought. So, I have the awareness of that energy and power that kids want to have quenched with the force of their music. At the same time, we have the knowledge of all the subtleties and the beauty that need to be interwoven in there, from coming from that very art-minded musical background.
Now the sound of this music's definitely, again, different on that. And I think in the press notes you even coined of what you call it, like an undercore. Thank you.
Well, hardcore has to be, at one point there's got to be new adjectives.
So undercore.
Undercore
What
to
is
me,
undercore?
undercore is music that really savors the moment. It's really impressionistic. There's lots of long drawn out, to me, Sabbath type of negative bands like Crowbar, those heavy bands that kind of have this super slow, dramatic, like they really knew how to take a certain movement in a certain part of a song and really, make it just kind of rip you. It almost felt like it was this like ripping down feeling. And so, I just had always felt, and just not even by what the two words under and core mean, but for some reason, the compound has a sort of almost a phonetic property to me that really, when you say it, it just sounds like the music. Sometimes the phonics can be the explanation, as opposed to the actual, etymology of the word or what the actual word means. So undercore to me, I've been saying it since I was 17 years old. It's like when I hear that, I associate that with what we're doing. But under that, it's like there's room for lots of sub-genre, sub-umbrellas, subsystems, like ESO-core, overcore. I mean, we're going to get into it, because it's like that's our whole thing, is where you want to create, you want to use that George Lucas, J.R. Tolkien template to create like an alternate universe that just keeps getting supplemented by us, that keeps getting more elaborate, and the depth keeps going.
Are the kids following along with you?
Well, man, that was not a week. It's early on in the game.
You guys, you know what I mean? You guys have had a little following for a little bit. I mean,
the kids following along, and that's always a challenge, is to make it, to kind of take ideas that people, for whatever reason, might think are a little bit complex, art-wise, music-wise, and to make them comprehensive, and make the band a remedial tool that almost explains its own mission by the way we illustrate ourselves and by the way we've broken down the band into 5 entities. It's like we've created it so that we can hopefully bring the obscure and what might be sort of a big thing to grasp for the everyday kid to grasp. So we're really trying to, like, Robin Hood. We're trying to like take it and bring it to everyone and not be exclusionary or stuck up or anything. We're just trying to take all the obscure interests we've always had and just show people that there's so many things that have yet to be done. There's massive frontier.
Tell me about it. I feel like I've been listening to enough records since I was a little kid, and especially now with the gig that I've been having for the past decade. I listened to enough music. I'm still trying to get Deadsy with all the, when you set the concepts and what each band member brings. All right, I'm going to put this down.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me a little taste of each member of the band and what they bring.
Okay. Alec Pure, basically you have There's the band member's name, there's the band member's function, and the band member's entity. So you have Alec Pure, he's the libertine, and he represents the leisure entity. Carlton Megalodon, man-at-arms, he represents war. PX Blue the First, myself, the eternal pupil, I represent academia. Dr. Nerd, the good doctor, he represents science, medicine, and creature, who represents horror. So basically we feel that we wanted to choose 5 archetypes to where we think that we could set up a foundation to put endless amounts of reflections of humanity, art, culture, whatever, to no matter what we explored, the archetypes and the foundations of the band would almost act as the legend of a map. So no matter where that map was in the world describing, and I'm using that analogy to describe wherever the geography as the many adventures or chapters or whatever that we're going to explore, because we've already got the next record like half written, like we have it all planned out. So basically we want a foundation so that people have familiarity and context, so that each time we do something new, it's not like, what? Like they understand it, how it's, there's a chronology. You know what I'm saying? It's,
How do these character? I mean, can I say characters or how do these?
I think it's, yeah, I mean, you can see it's not so much characters, because it's not so much based on the person, it's what we represent. You know what I'm saying? We're like gatekeepers.
Now, how do the gatekeepers feed into the creativity of the music? In other words, like you all have your, what you represent.
This album, it's not so much really written like okay, just example, like the next record and the records that come, they'll be separated in 5 sections. See what I'm saying? So and there'll be a whole substructure to how the records and the songs correlate to one another, and it'll be very, it's gonna get pretty Harvard. So it's like, yeah,
Study up a little bit.
Well, no, and the other thing is I went on my message board on the website the other day, and one of the things that I saw a comment that made me more happier than anything I've ever seen. A kid was like, "Fuck school, I'm coming here." Or it's like, no one is doing. There's not a band that is doing something in that capacity, to using the really interesting, fun stuff that I was always attracted to in school, that when I would leave classroom, I would go and sit in some kid's room and read Aleister Crowley books, or get into metaphysics, or get into just, trying to conceive the God particle, and just starting to get into really heavy stuff that for me, it's such a heavy, those things are such heavy thoughts and ideas that it needs a kind of a legacy music, like a troupe of explorers to translate to pop culture. So it's like what we are. It's really the thing that I love about this band is the fantasy reality distinction is very blurred. It's not like Kiss, where it's like the makeup is on off stage, and if you see us in a restaurant, we'll be wearing a napkin over our face and a fucking helmet. It's like, it's not like that. This is something that is very, very genuine. And that all of us, we take as serious as as a Freemason takes his member to a secret society. It's like it's like that. It isn't about, oh, what are we going to sell this week and this and this. And I was only talking about our excitement about charting, because that's a testament to this kind of thing. Charting in top 100, that to me is a pretty gnarly revelation, because it's something that you're not going to think is going to do. It's pretty out there. So to me, it's like, that this is something that could go, that maybe people are ready for, because people have talked about this bereft in an extreme kind of creative movement. So I feel like this next movement of music needs to kind of be like a harken back to maybe even like the Warholian movement. Like the art needs to mix with the science, with the metaphysic, with the brilliant, with the musicalness, the progressiveness. I mean, it really needs to embody and mean something. And as I always say, it's like, and this has nothing to do with the ego. I think this has to do with just that our love and appreciation for the chronology of human events. Is that this band is not, we're not trying to compete with any sort of peers in the music scene or whatever. I mean, we want to go down, we want to see where we fit in the long line of human revelations. And I know that's not trying to be too far-fetched, but I mean, we're willing to sit there in the books and in the laboratory and back that up. And so it comes down to our dedication and our work ethic,
How are we doing so far? It's pretty cool, right? I love the Gene Simmons of Kiss reference, especially since apparently He bought Elijah Blue his first guitar at age 13. Fun fact, his mother Cher dated Gene for a few years back in the late 70s until Gene started dating her friend Diana Ross. Yeah, that Diana Ross. Really? Gene? Simmons? Anyone? I don't know. Anyway, but this isn't about them. It's about Elijah Blue. So let's continue as he's about to talk about his love of guitar, some early fans of his music like Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit and Jonathan Davis of Korn, who actually signed him to his Elemental Records label. And yes, don't worry, we'll get to him talking about his famous parents. Until then, enjoy.
Now, I didn't go too much into the deep history on you from your previous music. Did you always sing? I thought you were always a guitarist.
I was always a guitarist, and I am primarily a guitarist. But I've found my voice in this band because, I did it out of it's almost more out of like necessity. Like I remember one day I was like, I got it. Like I wanted to get a singer. This is years ago when I was like really young and just first starting to realize that I wanted to do something. I really wanted to do something badly, and so I think it's a lot out of necessity, and I just kind of found it works. It's my voice. I think complements. It wouldn't have worked any other way. So now I've embraced it, but I don't like fancy myself as a singer. It's me playing guitar and singing at the same time. To me, makes the energy that is my contribution to the band. Like singing by myself, I would never do. Playing guitar by myself, not in this band, but I love just concentrating on just shredding guitar. I mean, I love playing guitar. I love playing metal guitars, especially. Like I love just sitting in my room shredding the Cannibal Corpse and Deadsy and all those like heavy bands.
Yeah, my mom growing up, she is a big fan of the record. I know you're one way. What's that like? When you can sit with other musicians, and especially musicians that have the power to help out, and maybe through your connections beforehand, you were helping them out for all I know, and
it's great, man. This is the kind of thing that's so kind of out there that it needs that. It needs people who are artists and also wield political power in the industry to champion and browbeat. And I mean, that's why we've gotten as far as we've gotten, because it's like, people look to certain people that say, what's cool? What's cool? And, a friend, Jonathan, is around saying, this is cool. This is cool. They're like, this is cool.
What's Jonathan like? I've met him. I mean,
Jonathan is one of the most sweet, gentle spirits I've ever met. He's an extremely, nice guy. I mean, he's, just like me. I'm a weirdo. He's a weirdo. He's into weird stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, the guy is just, is a very gentle, extremely generous spirit. So he's a very good guy.
How's he as a label boss?
He actually, since we've, over the last year, he's really he's fortifying that operation. I mean, he wants to turn Elementary into a very serious thing, not just a boutique kind of thing for fun for the band. He wants to really make that thing legit, and he is doing a great job.
I would be remiss in me. I don't use People magazine, so I don't know the relationship that you have with your family, but you do come from some serious family musical lineage.
Yeah.
Is it pretty much that's why you're here and you do music, because you had no other choice?
I don't think so. I think the route that I think that's all kind of coincidence, in the sense that the route that we've chosen is so specific that I feel like we were chosen by things way beyond any genes in our parents' body. I think this transcends. Not transcends what my parents do, but it's just like, this is in and of itself, and that's why it went down the way it went down. It went down with no one. Obviously, when I was initially sending my demos out, people's, the initial gratuitous, when that comes across your desk and your label, you're gonna pop it in maybe more than the next guy. But the thing that drives it through, and the thing that ultimately gets it where it is, through all the drama that we've been through, is way beyond the point of lineage. And that's, what I'm saying? Like,
the same magazines and program directors are probably not the same people who are going to be listening. I don't know, maybe call me crazy, but
yeah, no, this is a different thing. I mean, this is my mom is more of, she's a star. My dad is an extremely credible blues artist, and this is like a crazy just art project from another world. So it's like, I think that this is in and of it's, for me. I don't draw on any influence from either of them musically.
Okay. Did you draw from any advice? For instance, that's an obvious
I
question.
drew a lot of cash.
You got that going for you.
I drew. I mean, not. I mean, you know, now I'm starting to be a little bit more of an adult and kind of formulate my own empire.
So,
You know,
adult there?
yeah,
Come on,
I'm
bud.
gonna be an adult now, but basically, you know, I think that, like I said to someone else, I think, you know, the way I look at my mom's involvement is just being understanding and just sponsoring and providing and condoning a lot of experiences over the years that ultimately led for me to discover certain conclusions, which ultimately led to, I guess, what's become the creation of Deadsy. So I think through about 6 degrees or 5 or whatever, how many degrees of separation, that she's could be traced back to having some iota of responsibility.
Well, she's perfect.
But that's yeah. But she birthed exactly. Yeah. The birthing is the contribution.
Got you. And then maybe subconsciously through, you know.
Maybe subconsciously. I mean, like, I appreciate. I see also, you know, it's when she sent me back east when I was really young, and then I kind of spent 10 years there. It's almost like when Conan got shipped off to push the fucking thing around the log, you know, and then James Earl Jones turned him into this different thing. It's like, that's kind of what happened to me. It's like I went away. I was a product of just, you know, her just trying to be strict and just make a decision for me, send me off to a place, and then, you know, I became a product of that system. And that's actually when I was very happy, is just to be like, look, now I have my own shit, so I'm glad she sent me off, because now I know how to run this program from a very young age, you know.
Cool. And then on your father's musical legacy?
I like it, man. I'll throw in some homebrews every now and then. I absolutely respect him as a musician very much, guys. You know, guys, definitely a serious talent.
Wowza, Gregg Allman is a serious talent is an understatement. I was actually fortunate to interview the Allman brother for his acting debut in 1991, the movie Rush. He was humble, he was great. And so was Elijah Blue Allman in this interview from back in the days. Definitely check out the Deadsy album from 2002. It was pretty different, pretty cool. I dig the lead single, The Key to Gramercy Park, still do. But again, hope you enjoyed this classic conversation. There's more coming, so hit subscribe, tell your friends to do the same. This is kind of like podcasting before podcasting. All you need to do is press play.